For now, though, it is, of course, time for us to get into the movie review. So I'm going to play the obligatory music required for it. And then say hello, Tommy.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Awesome. Happy Friday.
I know, happy. I just hope the weather holds up this weekend, because last weekend was quite abysmal.
It was a little bit wet, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was not great at all.
Anyway, when the satellite's made up its mind, we'll find out. So, Tommy, what movie have we got to talk about today?
Well, I'm sticking with the theme of the build-up to Halloween, so
Okay.
I have to go with movies that either contain monsters or some kind of Halloween feel.
Okay.
So for this time, I've gone for the film from 2004 called Van Helsing, starring Hugh Jackman.
Okay.
I'm guessing that you haven't seen it.
Haven't even heard of it. Haven't heard of it.
Well, to put it simply, it's a horror film about a monster hunter.
Okay.
And he has to go to Transylvania and defeat Dracula. And,
Okay.
and he also fights the Wolfman while he's there, and Frankenstein's monster is involved.
Why not, right?
It's kind of like the Avengers, but with all the monsters, really.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I did chalk up a review. So, coming off the success of his entertaining Mummy films,
Okay.
director Stephen Sommers turned to all of the other Hammer horror movie monsters and, at Universal's request, put them all into one movie.
I like how Universal request this.
Oh yeah, well, it's a studio thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So Hugh Jackman as the main lead who hunts and vanquishes evil carries the film through some cool action scenes, and Kate Beckinsale as co-protagonist Anna is not only easy on the eye but also kicks butt too, so that's pretty cool. But everyone watches Van Helsing for the monsters, as they are the real stars of the film in all of their 2004 slightly dated CGI glory.
Lovely.
Count Dracula, played by Richard Roxburgh, brings a lot of sinister evil to the vampire Lord of Darkness. He comes across more threatening in his human form than in his beast form, because in the film he can actually transform into a big bat monster at some point.
Oh, okay.
Which he reveals in the film's third act. Always through Roxburgh as sorry, I believe that's a bit of a typo on my part.
Oh dear. I do it all the time.
Yep. Although Roxburgh as Dracula resembles the child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang quite a lot, in my opinion.
Okay.
It's been a weird resemblance with that, I've always thought.
Okay.
And when it comes to the werewolves, Anna's brother is the main wolfman of the story, but his role really comes into play when he bites and infects our titular hero with the curse of the werewolf. So Van Helsing himself actually has to struggle with this inner werewolf that is going to break out during the next full moon. The CGI and the transformation scenes are dated, but you appreciate the CGI boldness they were aiming for.
Okay.
Then we get to Frankenstein's monster. I'm
Yep.
sure you remember,
Yep.
you know what Frankenstein is, right?
Everyone knows Frankenstein.
If there is any heart in this action film, it belongs to the character of the Frankenstein's monster,
Yep.
who may have been created by evil, but is not ruled by it. Despite his appearance, he wants to live and do good, which is a very touching element to the film, I think.
Yep.
Dracula's three brides. Dracula could have it worse, to be considered. He is shacked up with three gorgeous women for 400 years, and they change into their bat-like forms. No, when they change into their bat-like forms, they are a force to be reckoned with as well. So, much like Kate Beckinsale's character, they look very pretty, but they're also there to kick butt as well. So that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, they're in this as well. Don't know if you know the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Don't know.
So basically it's about a really good doctor who creates a potion as he's trying to devise the difference between the good nature of men and the bad nature of men, and he takes this potion and he turns into a monster form of himself, like the evil side of his personality. It's all about duality with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Okay.
But in this version, he's only used as an opener action sequence to introduce Van Helsing himself. Robbie Coltrane, otherwise known as Hagrid from Harry Potter,
Oh,
He's the one who voices the CGI Mr. Hyde, so that's pretty funny.
I love that.
Robbie Coltrane voices the monstrous doctor who battles our hero in Paris. An enjoyable action sequence and a fun character killed off too quickly in my mind.
Okay.
And lastly, you have Igor. Have you heard of Igor?
Yeah, I heard of Igor. Yeah.
Yeah, he was Dr. Frankenstein's assistant, but in this film, Dr. Frankenstein's lab assistant is treacherous. As he proves that betrayers always get what they deserve, with a little help of a bottomless cliff at the end of the movie, because he actually betrays Frankenstein to work for Dracula.
Okay.
Alan Silvestri's movie score for the film delivers a lot of thrills and heart. David Wenham plays a funny sidekick in Carl the Friar, who goes everywhere with Van Helsing. He's basically a monk, but he demonstrates he's more useful than he thinks.
Okay.
But unfortunately, the film is let down by its bold but dated CGI.
Oh dear.
As you can imagine, 2004,
Yeah.
they were very experimental with CGI at the time.
Yep.
But to close, this film is a lot of fun, much like Sommer's two Mummy films, which I really enjoy as well, and it gave me a lot of entertainment as a kid because I watched it when I was 9 years old.
Wow.
Of course, it's no masterpiece. The story is predictable and the CGI doesn't always deliver, but at least it didn't try to establish a shared universe at the expense of its only current production, The Mummy 2017. And if you heard about the Mummy 2017 reboot, then you'll know what I'm talking about, because they tried to make a shared universe out of it, but they didn't. But they focused so much on trying to set up future sequels that they didn't focus on making a good standalone film first. So ultimately, that film suffered. Whereas this film is actually a very enjoyable film because it doesn't worry about sequel bait, as it were.
Yeah.
They just want to focus on the film at hand, which is the wisest thing.
It is, and sequels should be a natural progression.
Oh, I agree.
They shouldn't be forced.
It should, yeah. There are certain directors out there who I know and admire because they think, right, let's make this film and focus on this film. Let's not talk about any sequels. Let's make this film as if we're only going to make one.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years down the line, they have a few ideas coming up, thinking, okay, let's see how we can make a sequel. And then you make that progression as a filmmaker. You don't plan too far ahead, you know.
A little bit like Toy Story 2, a favourite at heart for the both of us.
And they didn't consider making a sequel for that straight away, did they? I mean, like the first one came out. They did
number 4, but let's not talk about that.
Although there is a big gap between all of them. I mean, the first film came out in '95, the year we were born.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the second one came out in 1999, so that's 4 years.
Yep.
So I reckon they probably did get a green lit for a sequel quite quickly, but back then it took a long time to make a film like that. But then you have an 11-year gap between 2 and 3.
Yep.
1999 to 2010. But then you've got a 9-year gap again between 3 and 4. Because Toy Story 4 came out last year.
Yes, you do.
So yeah, I mean, it's just a case of just analysing how sequel bait works.
I'm thankful you've acknowledged number 4, because outside of the studio, Tommy refuses to acknowledge Toy Story 4's existence.
Well, you did bring it up. I had to continue it, didn't I?
No, very, very professionally handled.
But to summarise with Van Helsing,
Yep.
it scores a 3 out of 5 for me as a movie. It's a fun action movie, not too much depth in it. Don't go in expecting a masterpiece. Just go in expecting a roller coaster of a movie, and that's what you get.
Awesome stuff. I'm looking forward to what you've got for the rest of Halloween.
Yeah.
There are so many to choose from.
So many indeed.
And just as you were talking about the come from evil but going good part of that review.
Yes.
The first thing that came to my head was little Gizmo from Gremlins.
Oh, yeah.
I've never actually sat and watched that film all the way through. I find it a bit too scary. But
Okay.
that's how jumpy I am. But who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what's around the corner?
I'm just I'll see. I can't really give away anything yet
No,
because I don't know myself.
Yeah,
but
that's the best way
yeah.
to keep a secret as well.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
But I'm glad
Keep
I
it
could share it
exclusive.
with you.
Awesome. Tommy, thank you for that.
No worries.
Now, before you can actually...